The rise and fall of the children of Israel. There existed an era when the children of Israel, the Jewish people, were regarded as the foremost leaders and mentors among all global communities. The Almighty had granted them abundant worldly wisdom and knowledge. Their duty was to guide other communities toward truth and share the knowledge bestowed by divine reality, encouraging them to serve the singular Lord and follow his prescribed way. Yet those entrusted with this wisdom succumbed to hubris and self-importance. They started viewing themselves as an elite community and exceptional lineage. They asserted their descent from prophetic figures, claiming their ancestry and heritage connected them to divinely selected individuals. Consequently, the Almighty would exempt them from any retribution and grant them immediate entrance to paradise. As their convictions transformed, they abandoned the divine path shown to them, straying from righteousness and forgetting the favors the Almighty had granted them. Even their miraculous deliverance from Egyptian bondage failed to redirect them toward truth. They not only defied the prophets dispatched by the benevolent Lord, but also committed the grave sin of murdering them. The wilderness period and early transgressions following their liberation from Egyptian servitude, the Jewish people established themselves in the Sinai wilderness, where heavenly sustenance of manna and salwa descended upon them. Manna represents a particular harvest, whereas salwa are avian creatures resembling quail. At this location, the Almighty summoned Prophet Moses to Mount Sinai for a 40-day period, intending to grant him divine legislation, known as the Mosaic Law. Throughout this duration, the Jewish people, influenced by the Samaritans' encouragement, commenced bovine worship. This practice was hardly novel for them, having originated during their enslavement under Egyptian rulers, since cattle veneration was prevalent in both Egypt and Canaan during that period. Alongside experiencing decline and ethical deterioration, they also adopted cattle worship. After obtaining their freedom, they started brazenly transgressing divine teachings and commandments. They would discard instructions that conflicted with their perspective. Numerous accounts of this appear in the Gospel, demonstrating that they didn't hesitate to injure their prophets and chosen individuals, going so far as to murder them. The division of the kingdom Prophet Solomon's reign represented the sole period when the Jewish people possessed the promised territory to any significant degree. However, following Prophet Solomon's death, the children of Israel fragmented into two separate kingdoms, designated as Judea and Israel. Following this division, an extended era of warfare and strife commenced between them. The situation deteriorated to the point where Judea requested assistance from the Aramean nation. When these circumstances arose, the prophet Manahen, following divine instruction, admonished Asa, Judea's monarch, using severe language, but this produced the reverse outcome. The monarch disregarded this admonition and incarcerated the divine prophet. This event is documented in the Gospel, specifically in the Book of Chronicles, chapter 17. The persecution of Prophet Elijah. Multiple additional incidents are recorded in various other scriptural books and chapters. Prophet Elijah was compelled to seek sanctuary in mountainous regions because when he commenced proclaiming divine unity, Ahab, Israel's monarch, whose spouse did not follow the Mosaic tradition but was immersed in polytheistic practices, created immense pressure, forcing him to flee. A supplication of his is also documented in the Book of Kings. He was beseeching the Almighty, lamenting the transgressions of the children of Israel, that they had abandoned their covenant with the divine and had murdered his prophets violently. Prophet Elijah declared, "O Almighty Lord, I alone remain, yet they seek my life as well." This supplication reveals that during Prophet Elijah's era, the children of Israel murdered multiple prophets. The reason for Prophet Elijah's flight was also that the monarch desired to execute him, having dispatched his agents searching for him. Scripture records that his spouse, Jezebel, had executed numerous prophets. Prophet Elijah had concealed 100 of these prophets in groups of 50 within caverns. Thus, the Almighty preserved their lives. Other martyred prophets, in chapter 22 of the identical Book of Kings, another prophet named Micaiah is mentioned, who became subject to the same monarch's persecution because the king disliked Micaiah's truthful declarations. Consequently, he imprisoned him because Prophet Micaiah had foretold that the monarch would wander aimlessly. Ultimately, that monarch perished in combat. Before departing for battle, the monarch issued a directive: apprehend Micaiah, deliver him to Amon, the city's administrator, and to the royal prince, and declare that the king has commanded thus: confine this individual in prison, and provide him only bread of hardship and water of affliction. This signified that he should endure forced labor. Scripture also reveals the destiny of prophet Zechariah. Throughout Judea's kingdom, corruption and idol worship had become widespread. Prophet Zechariah protested against it, which displeased the monarch. During that period, this kingdom's ruler was Jehoash. Finding the truthful words offensive, he reached an exceptionally brutal verdict against the divine prophet and commanded that he be executed by stoning. Consequently, he was stoned to death between the sacred area and the altar within Solomon's temple. Both represent locations inside the temple compound. Prophet Jeremiah's suffering references to Prophet Jeremiah appear throughout various chapters of the book of Jeremiah. He belonged to the tribe of Benjamin and delivered prophecies from 626 to 587 BC. His prophetic directives are preserved in Hebrew and Greek texts. His truthful proclamations were rejected by the authorities, and he experienced persecution. He supplicated to the Almighty, "O Lord, you understand. Recall me and attend to me, and exact retribution from my oppressors. Recognize that for your benefit I have endured humiliation." When Pashur, son of Immer the priest, observed and listened to him prophesying, he had him beaten. He confined him in the stocks at Benjamin's upper gate, adjacent to the Lord's house. The following day, he was freed from the stocks. The monarch imprisoned him and had him flogged. They cast prophet Jeremiah into the depths of Prince Malchiah's cistern within the guard's courtyard. It was a muddy well. Prophet Jeremiah descended into the mire. Subsequently, at a eunuch's recommendation, the monarch had him extracted from the cistern. According to ancient Jewish tradition, the Jews who migrated to Egypt executed him by stoning because he was charged with idolatrous conspiracy. Prophet Amos and his message. Prophet Amos was the Almighty's messenger and was dispatched to the Jewish people. His period coincided with when the Israeli state of Samaria had succumbed to deviation, and diverse forms of wickedness had embedded themselves within it. He attempted to reform the community and cautioned that its destiny would be nothing except annihilation. The community, rather than accepting his message, opposed him, accused him falsely, and demanded he cease prophesying. You originated from among Tekoa's shepherds. You delivered prophecies during the monarchies of Uzziah, Judah's king, and Jeroboam son of Joash, Israel's king. The priest provoked Israel's king, claiming he was plotting against your dynasty. He advocated for his execution or imprisonment. The martyrdom of John the Baptist, who remains unfamiliar with Prophet John the Baptist. The Gospel acknowledges him by John's designation. He vocally condemned the immorality and wicked actions occurring in King Herod's court. The monarch, at his brother Philip's wife's instigation, imprisoned him. The monarch desired his niece and wished to wed her, but Prophet John declared this marriage illegitimate. That woman vehemently opposed him. Unable to execute him directly herself, she utilized her daughter. She performed a dance at one of the monarch's celebrations, and the monarch was delighted and stated, "Request whatever you desire." After conferring with her mother, she demanded Prophet John's head, which the monarch had severed and presented immediately. The girl delivered this head to her mother. Naturally, her mother must have rejoiced seeing it, but she remained unaware of her own misfortune. The case of Prophet Jesus, who remains unfamiliar with the crucifixion incident involving Prophet Jesus. We maintain that the Almighty elevated him to the celestial realm, and in his stead, the disciple who betrayed the divine prophet was crucified. Prophet Jesus would proclaim the authentic faith and summon people toward the righteous path, but the Jewish religious authorities and leaders couldn't tolerate his message. Therefore, they exhausted every effort to harm him. Prophet Jesus would reprimand them and prevent them from leading lives of transgression and duplicity, encouraging them to turn toward faith and virtue. These individuals orchestrated a conspiracy and filed charges against him. Based on these accusations, the so-called tribunal commanded his crucifixion. During that period, the Roman administrator was Pilate. In those times, a criminal named Barabbas was also detained. When the festival arrived, the administrator presented an option to the Jewish people. He stated, Select whom you wish released from the two captives, Jesus and Barabbas. Upon this, the Jews collectively chose to release the thief Barabbas. This complete incident is documented in Matthew's Gospel, chapter 27. Divine Justice and Human Pride scholar Maududi has written in his Quranic commentary that this constitutes a disgraceful chapter in this community's criminal history, which the Quran also references. Now it's evident that the community which grew arrogant before its creator and sustainer, priding itself on ancestry rather than deeds, what further action could the Almighty take to establish his proof? The Jews harbored this false arrogance that they exclusively possessed salvation, restricted to the Jewish collective. They lived under the illusion that their group maintained a special relationship with the divine, which other humans lacked. Therefore, anyone belonging to their group, regardless of their actions and beliefs, was destined for salvation, and all other humans outside their group were created solely to become fuel for hellfire. To eliminate this misconception, the Almighty declared that in the divine court, the genuine criterion is not these group affiliations of yours, but what carries significance there is faith and righteous deeds. Whichever human being presents these qualities will receive their recompense from their Lord. In the divine court, judgment will rest upon an individual's characteristics, not upon your communal registers.